Hi Soundies. Welcome to our Sound for Video session. Today is Headphone Hair Day. And good to have you here to join us for that. Hope everything's going well out there. Sounds like it's very hot in Nashville right now for March. At least that seems hot to me. Let's go to our agenda. Very simple agenda today. This is a workshop, of course, which goes along with our courses at school.learnlightandsound.com. And this is a question and answer session. And I have a new thought on this. My thought is this. We will answer the questions. There were a couple that were submitted ahead of time. We'll answer any questions that people have in the chat. But if y'all don't have questions, then I'm going to start answering my own questions. And we're going to just start experimenting while you watch me fumble around and learn in real time. So with that, let's go to our first couple questions that were submitted ahead of time. The first one from Nikhil is, when mastering an anthology made up of different short films assembled into one feature-length timeline, what stems are most useful to request from each short? Is it enough to have the standard dialogue, music, and sound effects stems to hit overall loudness standards? Or is it better to ask for more detailed stems, such as dialogue, music, ambiance, Foley, hard effects, and backgrounds for better consistency and control across the full anthology? That's a fantastic question. I have never done that exactly, to be honest, but the way I would approach it is that I would probably just get the standard stems. So I would just get the dialogue, music, and sound effects. And honestly, I would try to keep those mixed as they were already mixed and just master on the output bus, if possible, for each of the different films to bring them into a similar level. I think, presumably, the films have already been mixed and are already achieving the artistic goals of the director. And so I wouldn't want to mess with it too much. So I wouldn't get too detailed there, or too into the details with all of those individual stems, but just dialogue, music, and sound effects would probably be enough. And in fact, in some cases, I know mastering engineers, at least for music, are often just given a mix and they have to master the mix. So I would try to keep it high level. I wouldn't go any farther than dialogue, music, and sound effects. That is a fantastic question, and thank you so much for that. All right, the next one is also from Nikhil. What is the best way to use Isotope RX to measure and achieve loudness targets? Well, let's show you. Give me just a moment here to, okay, we have RX here. Let's just open a recent video. So let's go here, and let's go get our, where is it? Let's get the DoD IFB. Okay. So you'll notice I have one of the modules in RX already open, and this is the loudness control. There are a couple of different ones in the latest versions of RX. There's loudness optimize, which looks like this. And this one I haven't used this one as much. So I don't usually use this one. But it does have a boost, so you can boost the levels. Here's read it essentially read that we're currently sitting at minus 23 LUFS. So in essence, you're going to obviously want to be able to, you're going to have to choose a target ahead of time, probably for a film that's going for theatrical release or even streaming these days. Probably minus 23 or minus 24 is where I would target, but check the specs for your project. I don't actually use this one, honestly. What we could do, let's see what happens here. If we wanted to get this for like YouTube loudness, we might target something closer to, am I getting audio in both ears? Are you hearing me in both ears? Okay, all right, just making sure. I think something may be going on with this. Okay. Let's just try it. Well, actually, let's come back. Let me just show you what I would do, and then I'll come back and take a look at that one. Let's do this a way that makes sense. So loudness control. Similar type plugin, so it reads the entire program and says, okay, right now you're sitting at minus 23.4. this is how much headroom you have. Your true peak max right now, or your the highest amplitude peak within this entire audio clip is, and this is a, like 9-minute piece, sits at minus 2.8 dB true peak. So before you export, or before you do your final export, you're probably going to want to leave at least 1.5 dB. So you want this to be minus 1.5 or maybe minus 2 when you finish here. But to loudness normalize, what I would probably do, or to kind of maximize, let's say we're going to 17, I would come in here first of all and find some of these are kind of loudish. Let's just play this and see where we're at. Of course, we have to do this. Some background. My experience, some background. Okay. You're getting sound out of both ears? Okay. Something is really going wrong here. I would come in and first, sorry, I'm doing some troubleshooting in real time here. I would come in and first manage some of these high amplitude bits to see what they are. So I would pull in the gain module, which is here. And I would definitely not boost it. I would cut it by, let me explain what I'm trying to do, my mindset. I am trying to manage these transients here that are sticking out and not giving us enough headroom to bump it up to minus 17 LUFS. So I'm at minus 23 right now. I need another 6. I need to boost things by 6 dB overall, or 6 loudness units. And to do that, I have to manage these transients that are sticking way out. So to do that, there are a couple of approaches. You can compress, but the problem with compression is that it starts to sound very compressed at some point. And generally, you want it to sound a little bit more neutral. So what I often do nowadays, if I want something to sound more transparent, I will actually come into these transients and I will bump them down by a couple of decibels. So I will come and highlight this, for example. Maybe just here, and just drop it by 2 dB. If you drop it more than 2 dB, it will be pretty obvious that you have intentionally done that. So usually 2 dB is pretty good. Let's just play through this phrase and see how it sounds now. Let me give you some background. My experience is that actually sounds okay. I think we can work with that. If I highlight this here, you can see that's okay. We've got 4.5 dB of headroom there, here, 4, here, 4.7, we're okay. Here's where we're starting to pop up. This one might stick out a little bit. Now, knowing all, I do have a tendency to really emphasize when I say now. So we'll drop that a little down below. Now, knowing all that context. Okay. Let's see here. It looks like this may be an area that needs some work. All right. Now, if you have any questions, there is our highest amplitude peak in the entire piece right there. So let's go ahead and we might just reduce this entire phrase. All right. Now, if you have any questions about how to set, All right. Now, if you have any questions about how to set this up and you're interested in exploring those in future videos, good. That's evened it out. You can see we're now sitting at -3. This is probably one worth looking at. Tedious, I know. Stick with me. Yep, that's 3. Also, I have a tendency to really emphasize also. It also does not support headphone pairing. So okay, now we have 3.3. You can see we're just kind of slowly gaining a little bit more headroom as I manage these. Looking at the next one, there's one right here. You cannot use this tendency to overemphasize, perhaps. Pull that down a bit. You cannot use a Deity Theos wireless transmitter. Okay, we've got 4 dB. So that's the first thing. Before I do any compression, I will generally come in and try and do that first, because now when I go to do the compression, it's not going to sound overly compressed. It's going to sound a little bit more natural and neutral. Also, I've got these hand claps here where I'm doing a demo. So you have to use, whoops, let's go find those again. Where are those at here? 4.9, that's okay. Yeah, I think at this point I'd come and do some compression. So that's where I would bring in whatever plugin we're going to use in this version. Isotope. This is what happens with Isotope RX. I've lost all of my controls. They're still there, but I have to search for them. So, well, let's go ahead and do it. It turns out we have a plugin there that we can probably work with. So I'm going to go ahead and start playing and adjusting the settings. Let's see if we can find the apply button when we're ready. Okay, here we go. Hear what their crew have to say back to them. So we're not going to talk as much about that, but that's another use case. It's very common. So overall, an IFB is an efficient, hands-free way to remotely make sure that everyone gets a feed of the production audio, thereby keeping the production coordinated and running smoothly. This episode is sponsored by Learn Light and Sound, where we have courses teaching you how to improve your lighting and sound for video. Link down below. Okay, before I get too far into that, let's figure out what we need here. Now, remember, I'm at minus 23.5 now, so I need 6.5 dB. I need essentially 6.5 dB of headroom plus that extra 1.5 that I need to keep there before we export. So I need a grand total of what? 6.5, 7.5, 8. I need 8 dB of headroom. So right now I'm at 4. I need 4 more. So that's going to kind of guide me as to how much I'm going to do, how much compression I'm going to do here. So here we go again. There's a button down here for preview. Now, knowing all that context, let's talk specifically about the Deity Hush Wireless DIFB kit and what makes it unique. Professional IFB systems can be quite expensive. I was going to say I'm not going to name names, but I'm going to name names. And the names I'm going to name are things like Zaxcom, Electrosonics. There are many others as well, but you buy all of the pieces separately in these high-end professional systems, the bill gets big very, very quickly. The DIFB is much more affordable than most. So a kit with a transmitter and 3 receivers runs $950 US. That may sound like a lot, but again, if you go price some of the other pro systems, I think you'll find that's pretty reasonable. You cannot use a Deity Theos wireless transmitter. So you have to use the specific transmitter that was made for the Deity DIFB system, the Hush wireless system. It also does not support headphone pairing, so you can't use a Deity DIFB receiver with Bluetooth headphones. It just doesn't work because, again, of patents held by another company. Now, there's one positive difference too, and that is that... Okay, let's try that. Okay, the claps it did not capture, so we're going to go ahead and pull those down manually. Why did it not capture them? Because our attack time is 2 milliseconds, so they made it through the compressor, in other words. Gain is here. Bring that down to about right there. Do an overall read. Our true peak now is at minus 5.4. We're getting closer, but we need some more. Maybe that our attack is maybe too slow. 5 different. See that first part of the 5. You can make yourself sing. That's fun. Those are slipping through the compressor, so I might want to just... Actually, let's undo. Here's before the compressor. Let's pull that compressor back up. I am going to speed up the attack a little bit here. Somewhere in there. Let's try again. Let's get into a section with more transients sticking out. Okay. You cannot use a DAD Theos wireless transmitter. So you have to use the specific transmitter that was made for the DAD DIFB system, the Hush wireless. Okay, we'll try that. These claps are still getting through. Not a problem. We will address those. Okay. See where we're at. 5.9. We still got some stuff going here. Let me give you some background. My experience is that IFB was actually originally... Oh, it's already sounding kind of compressed. I don't want to do any more if I can avoid it. Film. Whoops. Oh, we have late breaking information on this. I don't know what I was talking about there. Still have some things sticking out. Is this it? That's it. How do I know? It said minus 5.9. Five different channels. Okay, better. We're still just slowly trying to go and creep in there and get what we need. Ah, that's fun. I'll put a link so you can download the original audio and get a... Cool. Still at minus 6. I think I'm seeing a little bit of asymmetry here, it looks like. I wonder if we can gain a little bit more headroom. We're going to do this adaptive phase rotation. We're working on dialogue. It should be okay. The left and right channel are identical, so we're not going to mess up any phase relationships. And that'll take some time because it's a 9-minute piece. There we go. Okay. We were at 6. We've gained a dB of headroom. Good. Again, we need about one more. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. This is where I would typically, at this point, I'd probably come in with a limiter. I don't, again, RX11, so help me. Isotope, you rascals, you need to get it working so that all of the Chrome is back here so I can control my plugins. But I would come and get a limiter, get that additional headroom, and then I would come and boost it up. So in this case, we'd boost it up by 6 dB. Actually, 6.9 at this point. You will see here, if I do it now, it'll actually clip some of those transients off. Undo. Let's actually boost it here. That will limit it now. Let's go to minus 17. We have our true peak at max minus 1.5. So I'm boosting it, essentially here doing the same thing, boosting it by 6.9 dB. And it's going to apply a limiter to those transients so that we still have a 1.5 dB of headroom. I would prefer not to do that. That could end up sounding a little crunchy. Normally I would use a limiter where I'm controlling the settings. But let's see what it does here. You can see our progress bar here. A lot of work here, 9 minutes of material. It's having to do a lot of math, which it's good at. Computers are good at math. And there we go. Actually doesn't look like it clipped too badly. So this is what it sounds like now. It's going to be loud. Be on your volume control. Get ready to turn it down. Here we go. What is an IFB? An IFB system, that is interruptible foldback, is a wireless system that's used on set for video production. And okay, there it is. That's generally how I'd approach it. So I would do the same thing for each of the different short films that you're putting together in an anthology, Nikhil, to answer your question. And then I would put them that's how I would do the mix. I would essentially loudness normalize each of them to whatever target you're aiming for, and then bring them all together in the final mix, and you should be good to go. LUFS is not perfect. We can go back to the main camera for now. LUFS is not perfect. In theory, what it should do is it's a way to mathematically measure the loudness of something and be able to use those numbers to match the perceived loudness of multiple pieces and bring them together. You may have to do some fine tuning because it's not always perfect, but it does usually get you very close. So it's good that way. Okay, those are the questions that were submitted ahead of time. Let's take a look at the chat and see what we have going here. Oh, Nikhil, this is from Audio Buff. I did that style project once. I would recommend get all stems. On our project, I soon realized the feature film took its own personality, and we were glad to have total audio control. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there are different philosophies, obviously. I think that some directors would be very hesitant to do that and have you essentially remix their piece. I think they would have some concerns about that. So just be sensitive to that possibility. Yes, ideally you would have total control and you would essentially be remixing and optimizing for the mastering job. But there are going to be some directors that are not going to want that, and some post mixers that are not going to want, or supervising sound editors and sound supervisors that are not going to want that. So just be careful there. I've been using Noiseworks Voice Assist. Pretty good. Very good. Yeah, that's a new plugin from Noiseworks. We reviewed one of their earlier pieces that was also very good. The only problem with it was that it was an ARA plugin or a standalone app, so you had to use a digital audio workstation that was ARA capable, which means Pro Tools, or I can't remember if Logic is ARA capable or not, but some of the others, mostly the music DAWs, or the DAWs that I usually think of as music DAWs. But DaVinci Resolve definitely does not support ARA. So, but Noiseworks is their new plugin, and it's essentially, if I remember right, let's take a look at it here. Let's just pop open Noiseworks Audio. Here we are. You can see Voice Assist is right there on the front. You can try it out now. This may be worth looking at, actually. Rick Simpson says, Voice Assist is really bloody good. The processing is so transparent, especially the de-essing and dynamic writing. That's one thing it does, is dynamic writing, which is essentially what we were just doing there manually. So when we went in there and reduced the gain on some of those transients, this does some of that right now. And it works in these particular ARA DAWs. So that's Pro Tools, Studio One, Reaper, Cubase, Innuendo. There's a lot of people saying how wonderful it is, but not exactly what it does. Okay. So it does AI-powered denoising, dereverberation, frequency recovery, leveling. That's a huge one in my mind. That's a lot of work. Breath and sibilance control. The cool thing about doing it in an ARA plugin is that you can go and fix any mistakes that the plugin makes before essentially committing it to your mix, which I really, really quite like. So if only I used an ARA-capable DAW, that would be amazing. But there is also, as I understand it, a standalone application, so you can do it in the standalone application and then bring it into either your nonlinear editor or your DAW after that. So thanks for sharing, Rag and Bone. Glad to hear it's working well. Yeah, standalone. So it's a separate app that you essentially run your audio through first. Quicker approach is to use the presets in the loudness control to change the target loudness.
This is when you were doing the editing.
Yeah, Greg, the only thing I'd be careful about there is that it's that limiter in loudness control doesn't care how it sounds. It just gets you to the target. Whatever it has to do to get you to the target, it does. So it can do some really heavy limiting, which is not ideal. So that's why I usually do my own compressing and limiting first, just to give it context. The voices, instead of manually leveling and then compressing, time consuming, I now try to use the Tekivation M leveler and compress slightly in Resolve. Do you have experience with that? That's essentially what I'm doing. I do use I don't use the Tekivation M leveler, but I do use, there is one in Isotopes. What is it called? Nectar. Nectar has one, so Nectar Advanced has one. And it's okay. I'm not doing super long pieces, so for me, a lot of times, I mean, if I were doing hour-long podcasts, absolutely, I would get something that does that automatically. But yeah, completely agree. That's a great approach, because then you don't have to compress as hard. It doesn't have that really kind of talking in a pillow, like screaming in your ear, talking into a pillow, or screaming into a pillow next to your ear kind of sound to it. Audio Buff, you were the director, so that makes all the difference in the world. Have you ever used the Rode Video Micro 2? I ordered one to mount on an OBSBot Tail 2. Video Micro 2. I have not used that. I don't think I've used that one. Yeah, I don't think I've used that one. If you're in pretty close, should be okay. Rode does a pretty good job with those little tiny shotgun mics. I think they're really just directional mics, but yeah, as long as I think position is everything on those, just like any other mic. Did some guys follow the recent Blackmagic 1-week certificate class? Major changes. Moment, have to reboot. I did not. I did not know they had a week-long class. I assume that was a Fairlight class. And I wonder if it's recorded so that we can go watch it if we missed it when it was live. That would be great. All right. I have some updates. Let's do a few updates. Let's go to our overhead camera. I am a fan, as you might know, of Earthworks microphones. And this microphone right here is the Earthworks SR. Is it 317? 314. 314. And sadly, I pulled this out the other day to do a quick audio test on something, and it's not working, which makes me a little sad. So I'm going to have to send this in to Earthworks or contact them and then send it in for repair. Hopefully they can repair it without too much cost. The reason I share that with you, we can go back to the main camera, is in my career working in audio, I have had, I believe, 4 microphones that have needed service. One was an Electro Voice RE20, which just, when I plugged it in, all I got on that channel was a bunch of staticky noise. Sent it back. Within a couple of weeks, they sent it back to me, and it's been working beautifully ever since. Second one was the Earthworks. I have it right here. We can go to the overhead camera. This is the SV33, also a beautiful microphone. They no longer make this one. This one is out of production now. When I asked the guy at Earthworks that I've talked to before via email, he said, "Yeah, we discontinued." I asked why they discontinued this one. He said, "Well, the ethos is better and cheaper, so we didn't see a need to continue making this one." But this one had some problems as well when I got it, and I sent it back, and they repaired it. It was under warranty, no cost, and that's wonderful. The third microphone was, I can also show you that, was the AEA ribbon microphones, KU5A, which is this guy here. This one had a grounding issue, so I was getting some buzzing noise before it was repaired. Just sent that one back. I don't know, some of you may have been on the live stream when I first put it up, and a bunch of people are like, "Whoa, that is a noisy microphone." Turns out that was a defect. They just needed to fix the solder joint in there, I think, or something along those lines. So that's the third one. And then the fourth one is the Earthworks SR314. So we can come back to the main camera here. So stand by. I'll get you a story on how this one's worked. All the other three that I sent back were repaired without problem. This one I believe is out of warranty now, though, so we'll see how that goes. All right. Little story, the ongoing saga. Another ongoing saga, we'll go back to the overhead camera, is this little guy here, the Behringer Flow 4V. I have not talked about this one in a while. There's a reason for that. I think they announced it, in my opinion, a little prematurely. They have still been working on the firmware. And in fact, they have a new version of the firmware. And so if there aren't any questions, I thought we'd spend some time, and I'm going to get the new version of the firmware installed. So let's go back to the main camera while I work on that. So they have a Discord server. I don't think it's public, though, unfortunately. But I'm going to go get the latest firmware there. We'll go ahead and shut down this here. Speaking of Discord servers, we have a Discord server. I think most of you know that. But for those of you that are not yet in the Discord, our Discord server, let me just put a link to that in the chat here. All right, if you'd like to join us over on our Discord server, click that link. There you go. Okay. DaVinci Girl says Behringer always work on firmware. Well, that's good. It's good that they do that, actually. I'm not opposed to that. I just wish that it was not quite so. I mean, it's tricky when you release something, and my experience was it was a little on the rough side, that initial firmware that I was using. So let me go see if I can get the latest on the firmware here. That was firmware 1.0 went out on the 20th. And then, oh no, that's 1.1. Here's 1.1. Okay. I just need the Flow 4V. There is also, incidentally, an add-on unit to get you 4 additional channels using a single XLR cable called the Flow 4 IO Flow 4 IO, I think it's called. In any case, we'll eventually test that. I have not even touched it yet because I'm like, well, let's wait till the firmware is a little bit more stabilized so that, oh, actually I don't need that. Okay, here we go. Let's plug in our thumb drive down on the hub down here. Let's see what we get here. Isn't this exciting to learn and experiment? Let's see. It looks like that thumb drive is DOA. Let's go to disk utility and see what's going on. Let's see. It is not even showing up. It's, oh, here it is. No name. It is formatted MS-DOS FAT16. Well, I don't know what's on it, so let's go ahead and erase it. Let's go, we'll call this firmware, and we'll format it MS-DOS FAT. Unmounting disk, erasing. Mounting disk, operation successful. All right, it's now called firmware, and it has a grand total of 1.05 gigabytes free. Brilliant, that's enough for our purposes here. So here's our firmware disk. We'll just go ahead and pop that firmware on there. Am I doing it right? I'm going to pull the SD card and pop that into the computer. I wonder if I could use the SD card to do the updates now. Let's see. Okay, so the firmware thumb drive has what we need now. I can eject that. All right, the no name here. Oh, yeah, okay. Actually, you can update from the SD card, so we'll just do that. That'll make things a little easier for us. Should have checked that first. So, firmware flow for v.bin is now on the SD card. We'll eject the SD card. Okay, and then we can go to the overhead camera and pop the card in here. All right, first it is complaining about something here. What is it complaining about? Let's take a look here. I need my glasses that magnify. 1 second. Okay. Clock time lost and reset, unpowered for too long. Okay. So that's fine. So how do I... Okay. Whoops. That's the time code menu. Where is... We have our tone generator. We have Bluetooth, app, USB, device info. Oh, well, while we're here, let's go ahead and update to 1.1. Yes, I'm sure. Then do it. That wasn't very successful. Okay, let's just find our time. Nope. I don't know where you've set the time in this thing. We're in an endless loop. Yeah, I want to update to 1.1. Yes. Update to 1.1. No. What? Okay. Okay, well, I'm going to have to do some more work. So we're done there for today. Let's go back to the main camera. Not sure what's going on there. So rather than waste your time, I will do some research with our friends over at Behringer, find out what's going on. What else is going on in the chat here? Anything? Oh, it's not being updated over here. Did we lose connection? Danny.
Yeah, I don't have those.
Okay, then.
Oh, I know why. Wait.
Having some troubles with the chat here, but we're getting them solved.
Oh, why? Okay.
There's lots in the chat now. Danny is scouring through, looking for the questions. Surprisingly, the OBSBot Tail 2 has no internal scratch mic. Oh. Huh. Well, I guess, is that unusual for a PTZ camera, though? I'm not sure if it is. I don't know, maybe they do. My first Earthworks Ethos had some issues with it out of the box. I dropped a 416 while up on a lift, and it had a serious dent. Well, yeah, the second one, that's on you. First one, I don't know. We broke ribbon mics all the time, so much so we always carried a spare and had a spare back at the office. Yeah, ribbon mics are very delicate, for sure. Late joining. Has Curtis taken my question about 4 channels of wireless deity Theos? No, you must have emailed that since before I checked. So let me go. We will not show this because this will be my email here, but let me just go do my homework here and see what you're talking about there, Danny. I am not seeing it in my inbox, Danny. Did you send it to me, or how did you... If you want to put your question in the chat here, we'll take a shot at it. I'm not seeing it in my email though. I got a deity kit so far. Someone like to know how to change the battery. A deity Theos kit. So you just open the door and 2 AA's should do it. All right. What else have we got going on audio-wise here? I think we should go look at that Noiseworks. That looks like a pretty interesting... Oh, actually, I do have a question for you, all of you. I am curious which microphones you're interested in knowing more about, and I have a potential opportunity to review several. I'm curious if anyone has experience, if we go to the Mac here, with the Sennheiser E965 large diaphragm handheld condenser mic, or any of the other handheld condensers in the E9 series. I think it's E8 and E9 series from Sennheiser. Curious about those. Also, the Biodynamic, the M series and the TG series microphones. I am actually curious about, don't laugh, I'm curious about their drum mics, the drum kit. The large one actually, which is down here. Whoops, you're bad. Yeah, I guess so. Why is your link not working? Okay, let's go back to microphones. In any case, this kit right here includes, I believe, the TG58. Where's the TG57? TG57. It also includes the TG... One of these bass drum microphones here somewhere. In any case, it's a kit with several of those mics in it with the drum mounts on them. So I'm curious to, number one, take some drum lessons so that I can actually play well enough to demonstrate these, but then also to try out those mics. So I'm curious, anything else from the Biodynamic or the Sennheiser lines that you are interested in learning about? This is from my friends over at Guitar Center who have offered to potentially let me review some of these. So, oh, DaVinci Girl, no, you have the TC1. I see, you have the time code. Got it. Okay. How do you change the batteries on it? You send it to Deity and they change them for... Oh, no, actually you can buy the batteries and they have a little kit that you can crack it open and pop in the new battery. It's a lithium ion and there's a little lead that you reconnect the new battery to. So, no, get the Earthworks Drum kit. I will happily do that, Matt, but let's just, out of curiosity, we're just gonna do this. I'm gonna come over here to Guitar Center. We can show the Mac here. I'm gonna say Earthworks Drum Kit. Not a drum kit itself. Here we go. This one is $1,500. So the DK6 6-piece drum microphone kit. Looks like it has one for the bass drum, 2 overheads, and then 3 others. What if you have more toms than that? So do you mic all of your toms? So I have a floor tom. I have 2 rack toms, the snare. The overheads, of course, would catch the cymbals, although I think there might be times when you might want to, if you're doing some fun stuff on the hats, that you might want to mic the hat too. I don't know. In any case, that's a little bit more money, but actually it's not that much more. So fair enough, Matt. Maybe I will ask about that. But again, got to do some drum lessons first. Get some chops there. Okay, we can go back to the main camera here. You don't want to hear me play drums just now. Hi, Curtis. Have you tried the AKG C114? Let's see. It's a good question that I don't know the answer to right off the top of my head. But I think I've tried the 214, the 314, and the 414. I don't believe I've tried the 114. So let's just look up the 114 out of curiosity. AKG C114. It is a $229 microphone, large diaphragm. Let's see. How is it different than the 214? Oh, the 214 is more expensive than I thought. That is $469. AKG C314, I believe, is the other one. Is that a thing? Yeah, it's a thing. And then the 414. So I own the 414 XLS. And the 314 is $879. I think we kept the 214. I think we actually kept that for recording Danny on violin. So we still have that one. But this is the one I have, the 414 XLS. So no, I have not tried the 114 to answer your question. Have you? If so, what's your experience been with it? AKG, new budget issues, C104 and C114. Oh, there's a C104 as well. AKG C104. Oh, that's a 129 large diaphragm condenser microphone. Wow, okay. Did not even know that they had added those to the lineup. Thanks for the heads up. Whoa. There's a used AKG C104 for $85. Wow. I'm not going to buy it. Danny's concerned now. Let's move on to the next question.
I don't want any of your listeners to buy it either.
We were as I recall, the 214 and the 314 in particular were awfully bright. Good if you have a dark voice, not great if you have a standard to sibilant voice. That's the upshot.
Okay, this is two parts, but I think you answered it. I think this is related to the deity thing.
Okay. Da Vinci Girl asks, Sennheiser is available in the studio here. What is your question? No, you can, after your concerns, buy the batteries. But they give no instruction how to change. Contact their support. It's, as I understand it, the battery comes with a tool or instructions on how to do it. If it did not come with that, then I would contact their support for details. Or there may be that may be one that they have a video on. YouTube, deity, TC1 battery replacement. No, I don't see a video on it at the top here.
Why don't you just go to deity and then see if they have it within deity?
TC1 battery. No, not seeing it here. Yeah, you probably want to contact their support. I don't know the answer. My understanding was that they would include, if there were any tools that were necessary to pop it open, they would include that. And I don't remember if there are screws on the TC1 or not. And also that they would have instructions on how to do it.
Okay, people are answering your question.
Oh, people are answering. I would start with a more minimalistic mic technique. Look up Glyn Johns, which is a 3-mic setup that's been used on a lot of famous recordings. Yeah, I've seen that before where you position it's a 3-mic setup. So you're basically recording the kit plus the room a little bit more, whereas with the drum mic kits, you're Usually you're kind of trying to isolate each drum a little bit more and then mix them in post. DK7. Oh, okay. Well, guitar.
We need to kind of move fast.
Center. Do we have a ton of questions?
We have a lot of comments.
We have a lot of comments and we have 10 minutes. Okay. Earthworks. DK7. Not C. Oh, DM17 tom and snare drum. I'll have to look that up again later, Matt. I'm not seeing anything here for DK7 here.
Oh, wait.
I said I come out and mix drums for you. Yeah, I still need to learn how to play them. For drums, use for bass drums the 414. That's an option for sure. What I'm asking here, people, is would you at all be interested in which mics are you interested in learning about? Lewitt LCT 1040 large diaphragm tube FET. Okay, I'll see if they're offering that. That's a good one.
Okay, here's Danny's question.
Danny's question: I need 4 channels of wireless for walk and talks. Can Deity Theos be powered via DTAP?
It's 2 parts too. So.
Number 1. No, it does not have a DTAP port on it, but you can power it via USB. So if you have any sort of USB powering options, that can do that. 2, does horizontal mounting on camera conflict with antenna polarity on vertically worn body packs? Yes, you want to mount them. You want them to be in the same plane. So yes, or you can use. You could use the butterfly antennas if you wanted to on your receivers. 3, antenna proximity, an issue on camera rig. I've read that receiver antennas too close cause problems. Yes. Reduce the RF power output on your transmitters to their lowest setting if you're going to be in very close proximity. That'll save on battery life and it will prevent the transmitter from overloading the front end on the receiver. Oh, from overloading the receiver, I should say. Excuse me. So yeah, just go to the lowest RF power output and you should be fine. All right. Have you used Dante with Sound Devices 8 series to route tracks in and out of Pro Tools? Would love a deep dive video into that. Richard, good question. I have not done a deep dive. It's my understanding. Is Christopher here today? Christopher Wichura? I haven't done a lot of Dante, but it's my understanding that, and my experience actually with the Dante, with the 888 at least, that there seems to be more latency, and I think it's in the 888. I don't think it's Dante itself that is the problem there, like more latency than one would expect. So first of all, keep that in mind. Unless you're going to have artists, I don't know what you're going into Pro Tools with or what you're recording, but you'll need to have a monitoring solution that does not involve monitoring from the Sound Devices 8 series because, at least in my experience, the latency is quite pronounced. It's quite substantial. Way more than the, 2 milliseconds that Dante normally claims, whatever it is. So that's the first thing. I don't use Pro Tools, or I don't have a license for Pro Tools, so I wouldn't be the one to go deep diving on that, unfortunately. But you would presumably be using Virtual Sound Card, and that would just set it up as a series of channels that you would then set your channels up in Pro Tools to receive that. So what you'll probably want to do is go get Virtual Sound Card, the Dante Virtual Sound Card from Audinate, and then you can start setting that up there. Radkong, any tips for upping motivation to record more often? Have been in a limbo lately in regards to cameras and recorders. Just lost 24 terabytes of data after 2 hard drives died on me. Oh, I'm sorry. That sounds awful. You probably have gathered... well, let me just say this, Radkong, first. You have probably gathered from our much more spotty live stream schedule, as well as our spotty coverage on YouTube. I'm having a bit of a lull myself, a little bit of a burnout. So I'm just saying that to say you're not alone, first of all. It's horrible that you lost all those data. I don't know that you need a lecture on backups probably at this point you don't. But I would encourage everybody to make sure you have backups so you don't find yourself in this situation. I think a lot of times what helps me is defining how my whole experience started here was I had a project that I wanted to achieve. So in my case, I had an audiobook that I wanted to record. That's how I got into recording spoken word audio. So having something like that gives you something to work for, and you get, once you get into it, you start getting more excited. And that generally, I will say this also, you have to do before the motivation comes. I don't think you can sit around and wait for motivation to come. You have to decide to do something, start doing it, at least for me, and then I start getting excited about it. So those are some tips for upping motivation.
Okay, here's a whole bunch of drum comments, and then there's some other ones too.
Okay, drum comments. Here we go. Start for drums with the cheap Boundary microphones. Luxman is good and just 39 euros. Superlux E303W, 35 euros with Toman, best for recording drums to start. It's a Boundary mic. Happy face. If you're learning drums, messing with lots of mics is kind of like saying that you're learning to sing and asking what auto-tune plugin to use.
Perhaps.
Fair point. Understood. I use boundaries hanging on the channel to reduce the early reflections. Hanging on the channel if the room is not optimal. What do you mean by hanging on the channel? Curious about that. Legitimately curious about that. Robert Harker, butterfly antennas have a donut RF polar pattern around the long axis, so they need to be oriented the same as the transmitter. Yeah, those don't solve all the problems either. It does, if you have 4 channels, however, reduce the number of antennas you have in your bag, which can be beneficial. I would love to have a button size setup that has the quality and function of a tentacle Tracky plus sync and costs 11D. That sounds like a dream. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean like, oh yeah, dream on. What I mean is, yeah, it sounds like a really nice. Sounds really nice. I have not had latency problems with my Scorpio doing Dante to Studio Technologies M372A belt pack. I'm curious, Christopher, you said that they botched the Dante implementation on the 8 series. I'm curious what you meant by that. Pro tip for Dante, don't use DVS, that's the virtual sound card, for anything more than basic recording or maybe playback when latency, etc. isn't important. Okay, fair enough.
Okay, this is provocative.
Provocative. Video for sound is greater than sound for video. Ah, I see. Putting things in the right order. Thank you. I'm not provoked by that. I love that. 3, 2, 1 backups with 1 remote. You should have, the idea here is you should have 3 copies of everything. One of them should be remote from the other 2. So that's generally how I do it. Radkong, sorry for your loss. I now use RAID 6 as I had a RAID 5 fail. I have 3 copies. I have an SSD copy, I have a hard drive copy. Both of those are local here. And then I have a cloud copy of all of my important things. I own a Sound Devices 888 SL2 with 2 DSR4 sensors. I'm using an active antenna. Even with regular scans, I'm experiencing drops from other wireless systems. What could be the reason? Well, there's so many factors. That's a tough one to troubleshoot in 1 minute. But orientation of antennas. I don't know what active antennas you're using. Is it a dipole or a couple of shark fins? I'm assuming with an SL2 you're using 2 different antennas. Like I said, 1,000 different things could be. That's a tricky bit with wireless. Is there 1,000 different things that could be the problem? So you're experiencing drops from. So DSR4 is working fine. What is it? Are you talking? I don't know DSR4, so let's look that up first. I assume that sounds like electrosonics. It is a DSR4 4-channel slot receiver. Okay, so you've got four channel, 2 4-channel slot receivers. And I'm assuming that your Electros are working fine, but other wireless systems are dropping out. Are you just blasting? Are you using a really high RF power on the transmitters? I mean, they're just there are 1,000 other things that could be going on. I'm not sure what it is, but there's a lot to talk about there. That would probably be one you'd probably want to talk to a wireless engineer close to where you're at, or maybe send over a video demonstrating what you're doing. We could take a look at that. Burnout. I am getting up via great new themes in the real world worth documenting. I think that's good advice. Wall, not channel. Sorry. Okay. Oh, I see. You put them on the wall, so you're getting less of the reflections because it's capturing it before it gets reflected. That makes sense. So I can just say I'm coming on X date, and that will motivate you to get the drums lesson quickly. Okay, set a date, and then I need to get the drum lessons. Got it. Okay, thank you, Matt. It should be possible to restore the data, but the cost is 4,000 to 5,000 USD, so I'm saving up for that bill, and we'll have to buy a NAS setup also. The bills are going to be big. A caution about cloud backup copies. Download export fees can kill you. Free to upload, expensive to download. Interesting. I had not considered that. I think the service I use, Backblaze, is based in the United States, so it shouldn't be expensive to get them, but you can also order a drive with all of the content. But, if you've got 45 terabytes, that's a lot. That'll be expensive too. Okay, friends, let's end on a happy, positive note. We're all here because we love sound. So get out there and make some great sound this week. And we'll talk to you again next week. Take care.